move on to responsibility for choices. And we talked earlier this morning, when we overviewed this section, about victim speak. So we gave some examples of what victim speak is. Let's now look at the little bit tougher question down below, which is, what are some ways that perhaps we might be modeling or reinforcing victim speak? How might we be doing that?
Those are the ones that say irritates me is I don't like it either, but we're told we need to do it.
The way I've heard that expressed is that when we make ourselves transparent, we basically say, well, it's the boss, or it's somebody else, and we use that almost as an excuse rather than owning it and saying, well, I can see your point, or I understand, or yes, it's frustrating, but not disowning it in that way you've just expressed. I don't, and kind of, but we have to, we're forced to do it. So that's a good example of ways that we might be passing on that sense of helplessness. What are other examples?
Hiding behind policy.
Yeah. Hiding behind policy. The rules say, the policy says. Now, policy, of course, is real, and policy provides limitations. So what's a more above-the-line way of having to stay with policy?
We deal with saying, this is the right way to do it. This is the right thing to do.
Okay, all right. Or this policy's been established, maybe hopefully we know why it's there, and we can in some way explain the purpose of it is. And if we don't, here's the classic. I'm going to build on that thought a little more. So I don't know why the policy is there, or let's take another common example. I'm not getting information that I need, and I'm expected to pass on to my team why a change is happening or something that's going on, but I really am not getting that information. I really don't know what the answer is. So if I'm going to play the victim and be below the line, what do I say? I might pass it on, it's okay for them or somebody else. What else might I say if I'm playing the victim? People are asking me for information. Nobody's giving me, my boss isn't giving me the information I need, or I'm not getting what I need. So if I'm the victim, what am I saying? They're not telling me. Nobody tells me. I don't know. People. So I kind of throw up my hands and I show and express my frustration that I'm not getting what I need. Now, or that the policy is getting in the way. Now, if I'm above the line as a leader, how do I respond?
Great question. Let me think about it and get back to you.
Get the information I need. Yeah. The thing that to me distinguishes so clearly leader versus wallower is the wallower just kind of sits back and complains and says, well, there's nobody ever gives me the information, and grumble, and maybe passes that on to the team, whereas the leader says, I'll go find out. Or maybe even anticipates and tries to go find out before the discussion takes place. Or back to the policy thing. Well, maybe I don't quite understand, or I don't agree with this policy. It seems like a stupid one to me. Maybe I better go find out. Why is it there? Might even be a chance that maybe it shouldn't be there anymore. Maybe it's time to challenge it. That may be what this leads to. But again, that's all above the line leadership kind of behavior. It's not allowing yourself to slip below the line. In my mind, the harsh way to put all of this is, as a leader, put up or shut up. And either go do something and be a leader above the line, or zip it. To jump in, to add in, to express frustration, to show that, to make yourself transparent. Well, it's the boss, it's somebody else, is not to be a leader. It's to allow yourself to slip down below the line. Thoughts, perspectives? I seem to have a nodding head, so a number of you agree. Any other thoughts or perspectives on how we model below the line behavior?
Well, lots of times you don't have to know everything. Like as a leader, you will not know everything. And sometimes just saying, I don't know, and I'll go find out, get your team to do the same thing, and then you find out about things in a proactive way as opposed to later on everybody just struggling and you didn't even know they were struggling. It almost gives them the freedom to be upfront with you because you're being upfront with your own boss and everybody reports to somebody and saying, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out.
Yep, very good point. Any other thoughts? How we end up down there?
I think one comment where the CEO, Kurt Keller, says, I was never in control.
Right.
Which is amazing, you know what I mean, like, only an executive would ever think that way.
Yeah, but yeah, how do you keep control? Well, I don't want control, never been in control. Now, of course, we don't, I'm guessing that it doesn't mean that it's, what he's not saying is that it's a company where anybody can do everything.
Right, yeah, that's
There's
what everybody
rules,
thinks,
there's,
right?
yeah, there's boundaries, there's guidelines, but I'm not the enforcer. I'm not here playing the enforcer role. I'm here trying to help enable and build, but we clearly have rules and policies and procedures we need to follow. Okay, so now I won't ask you to show hands on this one, but I'm going to bet that many of you have been in situations like I have, where you catch yourself saying, I keep trying to tell them, but they're just not listening to me. Kind of feel that frustration. How come they're not listening to me? And the tough part of that is to look in the mirror a little bit and say, well, maybe there's a reason that they're not listening to me. That's the difficult part. Because, of course, how well I get listened to, how much influence I have, to a large extent is dependent on what? How I come across, how I communicate, the approach that I might take. Sure, it's dependent on all of those kinds of things. And so let's take a look at page 18. What are some of the factors of influence? Well, there we see 12 points that, in my mind, are some of the key elements of influence. So, and you can see we've designed this to be a situational thing. So if there's something that a situation you'd like to influence, it's going to be different with each one. So point number one, am I clear about what successful outcome would look like? I've worked with numerous groups where it feels to me sometimes like they're trying to build this jigsaw puzzle, but they don't have the same box top in front of them. And different people think that the blue represents either a sky or a sea or something different, and the green is, and they haven't really got clarity about what is it we're trying to build here. So, same thing with influence. Well, what is it that I want to make happen? A lot of us may, or sometimes we come from a position of, well, I know what I don't want, but do I really know what I do want? That's what that first one is getting at. And of course, understanding their position. How will they win? Do we really know that? And that's similar, these start linking together. It's similar to the whole notion of, are we in this playing a win-win, taking a win-win? Number 6, do we have a real win-win kind of approach? Number 3 and number 5 are tough to own up to a little bit. My levels of skill, the best definition I heard of persuasion was years ago, I think it was even in the 19th century, someone said that it was, persuasion is logic on fire. Isn't that a great way to think about persuasion? Logic on fire. Because it gets at the 2 elements, management and leadership, left brain, right brain. We've thought it through, we've got a good logical argument, and we've brought it alive in some way. If you're interested in the whole, many of you are concerned about change and leading change. John Cotter at Harvard has written a lot about change, and he wrote one book called The Heart of Change, which is an excellent book full of stories, because it's a book about how stories help change, and how getting at the heart of change is often more difficult than the logic of change, presenting the business case for change. And he gives one example of a group of summer students that had been hired in this large manufacturing company in the US to help fix the procurement system and the supply chain system